So, it kind of felt like recording something, though I don't really have much of a topic. I've just been, well, right now it's New Year's, and I have the day off, and I just wanted to relax a bit. I've been feeling pretty shitty this whole week. Mainly, well, I guess it's kind of two reasons. One reason is just the weather's been changing a lot, and I always feel like run down and I'll get like headaches or migraines whenever the weather changes a lot. Um, and I don't get as good of sleep. And also I've been on a diet since Sunday, and I know it hasn't been much time, but it fucking sucks. Um, I had this number in mind. I was like, if I hit 230 pounds, then I'm going to go on a diet because I'd always been like I've been fluctuating between like 215 and 225 for a long time, and it seemed like I could kind of just eat whatever I wanted, and I never went past that point. And like I wasn't big enough to where like it really bothered me or showed a lot. I mean, I definitely didn't look skinny, but I don't know, like I'm mostly like I'm 6'2", so I mean like I don't know what overweight I think it's like 190 pounds is overweight when you're 6'2". So I mean, it's significantly overweight. It's 30 pounds overweight, being 220. But I don't get a lot of belly fat. I get a lot of like back fat and thigh fat, so it just didn't really look too bad. Um, but I don't know. I just had 230 in my mind as like it's a round number, and like I said, I was always kind of under it, so I felt like if I hit that point, that means that I'm like gaining weight rather than maintaining. And I've known that I'm unhealthy for a while. I've heard people say like, how there's like the ectomorphic and mesomorphic and metamorphic body builds. I've heard a lot of people say that's not real, but I definitely think it's real because I mean there are just people who I mean you just look at the charts of those bodies; those are real body types. Like you look at there's ectomorphic body builds where people have like they're very tall and slender and have very long limbs, and then you have people who are more kind of short with like very short limbs and their bodies are much wider, and then you have the average person's kind of in the middle. And I'm definitely ectomorphic. I mean, I didn't even gain much weight, but I had like crazy stretch marks on my thighs before I even gained a lot of weight. Like I feel like my body isn't meant to have a lot of fat on it, like I was probably like skinny fat for a while. Um or I don't know. I don't know if that would change. I feel like I don't it's not that I have like no muscle mass though, I guess is what I'm saying, but well, I guess also what I mean by that is that like it just didn't show, but I had a lot of body fat. It just didn't show because I don't have like a wide frame, if that makes sense. And like I said, I don't get much belly fat. But like the little bit I did seemed to like wreak havoc on my body because of all the stretch marks I got in my legs. But yeah, like also my cholesterol's really high. I have a physical coming up on Tuesday, and I'm kind of nervous about it. I mean, my cholesterol's been high, my blood pressure's always high, though that's also anxiety. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I felt like 230, like I said, that was how I would know that I was gaining weight. Even though the weight I was maintaining wasn't healthy, I just didn't think about it much. It didn't bother me too much. Um, but then I finally hit 230 like a little over a week ago, I weighed myself and I was 233, and I was like, fuck. All right, I got to start dieting. But then it was Christmas, it was Christmas time, and like my grandmother's making me all these cookies, and I know there's going to be a Christmas dinner. And also I was like, I should just enjoy my holidays. I should enjoy this week, and it can be like one last sort of, week of eating whatever I want. And so I spent that week just doing that, just like overeating like crazy, just eating tons of slop. And then I weighed myself last Sunday, the 28th, and I was 240 pounds. I was like, holy fuck, like that would like I didn't think I was gonna gain that much fucking weight. And so then I was like, okay, I really have to do this now. And so since Sunday, I've been on this diet, and it didn't take long for me to start feeling like shit. I mean, Sunday, like I was at my grandparents' house, and they made sloppy joes, which aren't healthy, but I just had one, and that was I think all I ate for the whole day. And then Monday, I just had like two small, like really healthy meals. Same with Tuesday, and I just felt fucking awful. I felt depressed. I felt really run down. Um, I felt like my brain wasn't working well. Like, I mean, that was also probably the weather changing. Like I said, I always feel kind of off. But yeah, I kept making like stupid mistakes and being more clumsy and forgetting words. I was like, is this what it's gonna feel like for the next year? And you know what was crazy is I weighed myself after the 2 days, like after Tuesday, and I was 230 pounds. Like I dropped 10 pounds, which I know isn't really like I was just shocked that that happened. Like I knew it wasn't body fat. I knew I wasn't gonna be dropping 10 pounds every 2 days. That's crazy. Um, and I knew it wasn't gonna last. Like I was gonna go back up. But I just was I thought that was crazy that that could even happen. And I was looking into it, and apparently it just means like if you change your diet really drastically, like and you eat way less calories, all of a sudden your body burns through it's like either glucose or glycogen, and also you lose water weight, and so it can give the effect of losing a bunch of weight, but it eventually kind of like it'll go back up and it'll kind of stabilize, which I didn't really know all that, but I knew that like people can drop weight in an instant and then their weight goes back up when they're on a diet. And but I just thought it was crazy that it was. I just thought it was crazy that I was 10 pounds heavier 2 days prior on the scale. That could even happen. Um, but yeah, like I've just been eating healthy, and it's weird. Like in some ways, I feel better. Like because I've been taking multivitamin and fish oil pills. And in some ways, my mood felt a little bit better yesterday. I didn't get much sleep last night because I stayed up really late and I didn't want to ruin my sleep schedule, so I woke up, somewhat early. But uh, what was I even saying? I just lost my train of thought. Something about sleep. Oh yeah, like I've been taking like these multivitamins and just eating like much more nutrients, and I mean, in a way, my mood felt better. Like it felt like my eyes were more open in a way. Like if you're usually kind of lethargic or tired, if you just like raise your eyebrows a bit and open your eyes a little bit, you'll feel a little burst of energy, kind of. Like it just felt like that. In some ways I felt really tired and run down, but in another way I felt like I had more energy. Like I was more interested in talking to people. I actually made an effort to make small talk with my supervisor when he walked into my office. Um, and I was like a little interested in it when usually I'm not. And I felt like my mood was a little elevated in a sense, but also it's weird how mood works because like I also felt depressed, but I think it was like I was more like not excited, but just like I had more of like an optimistic feeling about things, I guess, or just a more positive feeling about things emotionally. But I just felt really run down because of the lack of calories, um, and just like miserable that I couldn't eat what I wanted, you know. So I feel it really is kind of like an addiction because like I it's like I don't know, like I get so much pleasure from eating slop, and that's like the only pleasure I get, like the only passive pleasure I get. I mean, I get pleasure out of like, out of writing, out of um, out of reading, out of watching something interesting, like some informative thing, or even, video games and shows and stuff, but like you can eat while you do that, So that's what I mean by like a passive pleasure. And also some of those things require effort. Like I enjoy writing a lot, but it does require a lot of effort. So I don't always want to do it. But eating something nice, it's like it feels so good, and it doesn't just feel good in the moment. I remember seeing Joe Rogan talk about dieting, and he's like, it's crazy people ruin their lives for just like mouth pleasure. This is what he was calling it. And I'm like, it's not just mouth pleasure. I feel really, I mean, it sounds kind of sus, but you know, it's like it feels like when you're like you have like a nice meal, like the feeling of like ordering pizza and then watching a good movie, like that's an experience. And then it like tastes really good, and then afterward I feel better for like hours. Like I feel really good, and it's like I've never cared about alcohol very much. I've never cared about weed. I've never really done anything else. I mean, I was prescribed Adderall, and I mean, I didn't really, it was okay, I guess. But like food's the only thing that you can do that doesn't require effort. It makes you feel really good, and you can do it while doing something else that makes you feel good, like watching a movie or something. And it just was like a reward at the end of the day, you know? It's that's why I feel it's like an addiction, because it's probably how people who, are addicted to a drug feel, where they're like, fuck, like that was the thing that made me feel happy and now it's gone. And it's so hard to stay off of, like you feel like I felt all motivated on Sunday. I was like, I can just willpower it. I really think that like willpower is largely an illusion, because I was like, oh, like I can just willpower it. I can just willpower it. And then fucking 2 days later, like only 2 days later, I feel like shit and I'm like ready to crash out and binge eat. And, yeah, because it just felt like it sounds pathetic, I guess, but I don't know. Like it's whatever. It's me. Uh, but like getting like not eating what I wanted, like being on a diet, I just felt miserable thinking like there's no reward now at the end of a work day. Like I just go home and do some other chore. And yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's also probably a hormonal thing. Is like if you change your diet, I'm assuming it fucks up your hormones, so that's probably why I felt like even more miserable about it. I'm sure after a couple weeks I'll be used to it, but yeah, I don't know. Like it's I decided to give myself a second cheat day, which might sound like backsliding, and maybe it is, but um it's hard to tell though. Like, usually like when I would try going on a diet before, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna, eat really healthy, and I'm not ever gonna cheat on my diet. And then, I start eating healthy, and then I go, I've been doing really well with calories, probably eating less calories than I thought I was going to. So that means I can have, I can go and order some food, I can go order something like, or, I'm in the grocery store and I go, I've been doing pretty well with calories. Like all this food I'm buying is pretty healthy. I could go and like I could go like get a couple of like a bag of chips or something, or I could get like some cookies or something. And what is that over the course of a week? That's like nothing. I can do that. And then I slowly get back into just eating whatever I want. And so now I'm like I have to have strict rules. And I told myself I was going to eat really healthy for 6 days a week, and then I'd give myself a cheat day. And on that cheat day, usually Saturdays were already my cheat days, but I would just eat like 5 to 7,000 calories in a day. I would just go crazy. But I was like, okay, now my cheat day is gonna be 2,500 calories, or like 27, like 25 to 27, because that's like my maintenance calories to maintain my weight. And so I thought that I thought I'd do that for once a week. Like for one meal, I would be at my maintenance calories, and I'd eat something unhealthy because I don't think it's all calories. I think I might have mentioned this before, but I feel like if you eat more calories of a healthy meal and slightly less calories of an unhealthy meal, you'll gain more weight with the unhealthy meal still. I don't think it's all calories because I feel eating like eating until I'm full on a healthy meal, I'll lose weight. Whereas I'll have like a little bit of something unhealthy and I'll stay the same weight or gain weight. I feel like I don't have any like scientific evidence to back this up, but I feel like unhealthy foods slow down your metabolism, and healthy foods speed up your metabolism, or at least don't slow it down and just keep it the same. Because I just don't really have another reason for why that would be the case, but that is my experience. Um, but like just, I mean, that's just my experience as far as what I was saying about eating more healthy food and losing weight compared to less calories of unhealthy food and gaining weight. Um, but like I thought I'd give myself like one unhealthy meal a week, and then like I said, like Tuesday rolls around and I'm fucking feeling awful, and I was like, I don't know if I can sustain this, like because I'm eating at like not even that crazy of a calorie deficit. Like I'm eating at like 1,000 to like 1,300 calorie deficit. Like today, I'm probably gonna have next to no calories because I ate like a kind of unhealthy yesterday. Um, so I'm just gonna make like a lentil stew in a crock pot. I probably have to get to work on that soon. And what else did I have? Oh yeah, I was gonna just have like a chicken wrap, like a chicken spinach wrap. Um, but it's like I was thinking I don't know if I can maintain this because I felt so shitty. At least for the beginning, maybe I'll get used to it. I'm sure as I lose weight, rather, I'll need less food. Like my body will crave less food. And when I was reading about it, apparently you have like appetite hormones that, like, part of the reason I was feeling bad was because like you have hormones that control how much you want to eat, and when you don't eat as much, your body's like, what the fuck? It starts freaking out. And so like I'll on Tuesday though I was feeling like shit, so I said I don't know if I can sustain this. I think maybe I need to have like a second cheat day in the middle of the week where I still don't eat over my maintenance calories so I won't gain any weight, but I eat enough to where I have some fucking energy. And so that's what I did. Yesterday I got some Little Caesars and it was really good. And then today I'm back to the fucking regular diet, like I said. It sucks, dude. It's just like, is this the next year for me? Is it just feeling fucking miserable? But I feel like I've hit my fucking ceiling, Like I feel like, because for a while, like I'd get on a diet and I'd be like, this fucking sucks. I hate this. I don't even care that much, Because I'm already fucking ugly. Losing weight's not gonna do anything. I want to make a video about looks maxing. I might even try to record that right after this one. I don't know. But just I don't like this. Like I said, I'll get into it in that video, but I don't really think I'm ever gonna try to looks max a lot. I don't think I'll ever look good no matter what I do, and it's like losing weight's not going to do anything for my looks, except for just me, like looking in the mirror at myself and being like, I look better. Because, I don't want to be obese. I look at these people who, like, they have a fucking gut hanging out of their shirt, they waddle around, like, it's just gross. It grosses me out. And I think that's not a bad thing. I think you should be grossed out by it. I know there's the whole, like, oh, like, you're fat phobic and all that shit, but I mean, body positivity is such a cope. Like, you see all these, and it's mostly women because, women are very idealistic, and they'll go, like, no, like, I can just tell people to accept me for what I am, and they just will. If we just tell everyone to accept everyone, then they'll just accept everyone. Like, I saw some tweet today by this, it was like a trans person, and they were like, oh, like, I can't believe they were talking about some celebrity, and they were like, I can't believe they would believe in societal beauty norms. And it's like, do you think beauty norms just came out of the fucking sky? Like, do you think they just came out of nowhere? Like, we've evolved to find things beautiful, and people go like, oh, well, back in like medieval times, people found being really fat to be attractive, and it's like, no, they didn't. Look at any art from back then. When people were trying to make beautiful people, they made the men fucking jacked, and they made the women thin. Like, that's such bullshit. They'll be like, oh, like, they found fat people overweight because it was a sign of status. They found status attractive. They didn't find the fucking being a tub of lard attractive. They didn't find that looking attractive, and you can tell by the art that they made. But anyway, like, that, like, I don't think that's good though. Like, the whole thing of like, oh, like, we shouldn't shame anyone. Shame, I've said this before in a video, but like, shame is how society regulates behavior outside of the law. If something's not illegal but you still don't want it to be done, you use shame. And you should feel ashamed about being a fucking super morbidly obese fat fuck. Like, that's not a thing one should want to be, and we shouldn't promote that as a society. It's unhealthy and it's unattractive, and we should promote things that are healthy and attractive. And I say that as someone who's not attractive. I mean, I still, I'm a person like anyone else. I understand why when they make a fucking hero in a movie, it's like some fucking Chad and not some ugly dude. It just, that is the ideal that people strive to be. You can acknowledge not everyone's going to achieve it, but you should still promote the ideal, because then people will gravitate toward the ideal rather than away from it. That's kind of the goal. Um, and there are some things you can control, like weight, and I think, like, feeling ashamed is a big part of it. Like, I don't want to, like, if I was that fat, like, I noticed once I got over 230 pounds that I was at work, and I noticed that I was starting to get a belly, and that, like, my shirt was sticking out a bit, and I could tell, like, my buttons on my shirt were getting, like, kind of tighter. And I was like, that is so fucking gross, and, like, I was just like talking shit to myself. I was like, you're a fat fuck, you need to lose weight, you have no fucking self-control. And that was making me motivated to do it, and it still is. But also, on the other hand, I'm like, I'm still not going to be attractive. That's why I haven't really cared that much up until now, because the looks part is a part of it. I do care about the looks a bit. Like, I have my limits with looks. I mean, by that I mean, like, I don't care that I'm a little bit chubby right now. I don't care that, like, my face is more round. I mean, I care a bit, but like, ideally I wouldn't be, but like, I do care a bit, and ideally I wouldn't look like that, but I don't care enough to do anything about it. But then there are some things where I do get to the point where I care, like having a fucking big belly, or like waddling instead of walking, which I haven't hit that yet, but something like that, like your fucking stomach hanging out over your, like, under your shirt, shit like that. That's where I'm like, okay, I cannot look like that. Um, but also, like, I worry about diabetes too, you know, because that's the thing. Like I said, like, I don't get a lot of belly fat, and so that was a good thing in the sense that I could eat more, but I would not look too fat, so I could just enjoy more slop. But it's a bad thing for the same reason because I can get more body fat on me without it looking too apparent yet. And so like I worry about, am I like gonna have some am I having like health problems that I'm not am I developing health problems that I'm not realizing because I'm not getting this like obvious fucking, exercise ball of belly fat that's like a clear warning sign. And so I'm worried like I have that physical and I'm worried now. Because if I got diabetes, dude, I'd be fucking so miserable. And apparently you don't have like symptoms when you get it. And yeah, I don't want to get a fucking limb chopped off or I don't want to get insulin shots. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm like I have to start changing things now and it just fucking sucks. But I gave myself this year. I felt like giving myself a time period would be easier than um, giving myself like a weight to hit. I mean, I would ideally, I think I'd like to get down to like 170. I was 165 in high school and I was really skinny, but I'd like to just, I don't know, maybe not that light. I don't really know how light I want to get, but at the very least, like 200 pounds, you know? And, but like, I don't know, like, because I would like to be thinner, I'd like to have definition to my face, but I also do like the strength that having more weight on me has given me because it does make you stronger. Like I remember being in high school and being skinnier, and a little after high school when I was still pretty skinny, and just being so weak. And I felt like I could get beat up easily, even though I'm 6'2". I just had no strength. And then without lifting any weights, just by like getting fucking fat, when I was doing jujitsu, I would be like I'd be fucking, wrestling with like some really buff dude, like some muscly dude, and I would be winning. Like I'd be like out strengthening, is that the word? Like I'd be more strong than him. He'd be trying to like push me and tackle me and he wouldn't be able to, and then I'd just like shove back and then I'd be stronger, or I'd at least be as strong, and I didn't lift any weights. And so that was nice. And there's that joke on Twitter people say where it's like under 200 pounds is victim weight. And, it's a joke, but there is truth in that. So I don't know how light I want to get because, like I said, I don't care about the aesthetics as much. I just don't want to get fucking diabetes. And I, uh, I don't want to be like grossly fat. But also at the same time, it would be cool to see the kind of, to look like I did in high school. I mean, I'm not going to get my hair back, but it'd be cool to like just see like my face like that again. That'd be interesting. But is it worth the suffering that much more just for something mildly interesting, Just to take a picture of myself and go, this is what I looked like in high school, and then immediately not care about that anymore. I don't know if that's worth it, but I have to lose some weight. And I feel like giving myself a year of being on a diet, I mean, that's more than enough time to hit 170. I don't know. I don't know like how well I'll do though. Like I don't know if I'll be able to maintain this calorie deficit for so long. But I think the point of like making not letting myself backslide, making a concerted effort to be on a diet for a year is going to be beneficial enough. And for some reason, having it be a time period and not a weight makes it easier for me to be motivated. Because it's like school, It's like I don't want to. The whole goal of school is to not have to work too hard. And like I mean as in a career. I don't want to have a regular job and have to work very hard, so I want to be a therapist, which I mean I want to be a therapist for other reasons, but that is one of the main reasons is you can make your own hours and you make a lot hourly, so I'm hoping I only have to work like 3 days a week. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go to school for 6 years then. I don't care. Like I'll tough it out. Like I can handle I'm patient when it comes to time like that. And so giving myself a fixed, okay, it's going to be this year, from like the 28th of December 2025 to like the 28th of December 2026. This year I'm going to try to stay on a diet. That just makes it easier for me to maintain or to be motivated about, rather. And then the whole goal is to, like, it's more of like a feeling. It's like you get that feeling of temptation and you go, I could do this. Like, I could get away with this. And then that leads to being like, I don't even care. Fuck it. I'll do whatever I want. I just can't let myself give in to that feeling. Maybe in 3 months I'll like lose a ton of weight and I'll feel like shit still and I'll go, I don't want to feel this bad and I'm losing more weight than I need to. I'll let off the gas a little bit, and then I'll allow a little more food, but it needs to be calculated. It can't be giving into a temptation. And so that's kind of, I guess, the goal for the year is just to be calculated about it. And then hopefully, I can get a bit thinner and feel better and not get diabetes and not become a fucking tub of lard. And I'm also excited to like have a healthy relationship with food. I've never had a healthy relationship with food. When I was younger, I would just eat what my parents made for me, and it was just like the average American diet, which, isn't good, but I also feel like people who aren't American, they think it's worse than it is. Like, I feel like if you're European, you imagine, the American diet being like fucking a 2 liter of Mountain Dew every day and like the fucking whole value menu at McDonald's for breakfast, and then for dinner you have a fucking extra large pizza, and then you have a dessert of a fucking whole cake or some shit, and then you have spoonfuls of fucking lard and you drink fucking seed oils. It's not like that. It's not that bad. Um, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it was my diet as a kid. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. Just like a lot of like pastas, like chicken, pork, some steak here and there. Um, I don't know. It's like your regular diet, but then when I turned like, and I was always like, well, I'll say like I was always pretty average weight as a kid. I was never really overweight, except for when I was like 10. I remember I gained a bit of weight because around that age, I was allowed to just eat however much snacks I wanted. Like before that, I'd have to. My mom always bought Chex Mix. Like that was a big snack when I was a kid. She'd always get those, and I'd have to like pour a small bit in a bowl. It was monitored how much I would eat. But then when I was around 10, I was allowed to just kind of take stuff from the pantry. And so I remember I had this phase where I would have popcorn and I'd melt like, like the popcorn's already buttered, and then I'd melt like 5 tablespoons of butter and just pour it all over the popcorn, and I'd pour Parmesan cheese in it too. And I gained a bunch of weight, and we were at like a hotel for some reason, and I took my shirt off to go swimming, and my dad was like, "Wow, you've gotten fat," and I cried. But then I started losing weight after that. I was like, I have to stop eating, so much fucking butter in my popcorn. And I lost weight. But other than that short period, I was always pretty average. And then when I was in high school, I had a growth spurt and I got skinny, around middle school to high school. And then when I was around 15, though, my mom stopped cooking for me as much. And like, my parents were divorced, so I was only in my dad's house usually it was Wednesday in the weekends, but I think by the time I was in my teen years, it was just the weekends. And so he would cook more, but I didn't go there that often. Most of the time I was at my mom's, and so I would just like I would only eat unhealthy food, but I wouldn't eat a lot. And that was just having a fast metabolism when you're younger. I just stayed really skinny. But like I didn't want to. I'd always wake up too late for breakfast, and I didn't want to eat the school lunches, so I'd wait till I got home, and then I would just have like, hot pockets, or like a fucking whole bag of Doritos, or I'd have like a grilled cheese sandwich and like a frozen pizza or something. And if you have whatever combination of those, maybe it'd be 2,000 calories, but then that's all I'd eat for the day. Um, so I wouldn't gain weight, but then I also had this really bad kind of like these bad habits with food, you know? I never learned how to get a sense of what was healthy and what wasn't. And then after I got kicked out of my dad's house when I was 18 and I didn't really have like a stable place to stay. I was just staying on my food staying on my friend's futon in his bedroom at his parents' house, at his dad's house. And like his dad was an alcoholic and he'd like get drunk and be like, you guys got to get the fuck out. And so I don't like I didn't want to like be a burden. I never wanted to be around his dad because I didn't want him to like be reminded that I was there and be like, get out if he was drunk. And also for a while, like he didn't tell his dad I was moving in. He just kind of let me move in, and then I was just there for a while, and then his dad just got the hint that I was living there, and he like didn't care most of the time. Um, but it just still it didn't feel stable. He was volatile. And so I was like, I might have to fucking leave, and I don't want to use the kitchen. And they didn't even have a stove somehow. Like, I don't know how they survived. They didn't have a stove. I don't even know if they had an oven. They just had a microwave, I think. It was fucking weird. Like, how do you survive? But I didn't want to use the kitchen anyway because his dad was always in there. And so I was like, all right, for this time period of my life, I'll just because I'd always be kind of careful about my diet. Like, even though I ate, like I said, like I ate like sometimes I'd have just a bag of Doritos for dinner. That doesn't sound like you're being very careful, but for some reason in my mind, like snacks were different. But I always felt like it was crazy the idea of having fast food more than once a week, and even once a week, it was like that was a lot. Or ordering a pizza once a week, having like some big unhealthy meal more than once a week to me felt crazy. But then when I was living at my friend's house, I was like, I'm just not gonna think about this. I need to eat, and so I'll just order whatever I want. I knew I was skinny. I was like, I can afford to do this. Not just financially, but I mean like as far as gaining weight. I was like, I can afford to gain a few pounds. It doesn't even matter. And but then since then, that's essentially been my diet for like the last 10 years. And so I never really learned how to have a sense of what's healthy and what's not. I mean, I have an idea of like what like I know like a fucking cheesecake is unhealthy and a fucking cucumber like a salad is healthy. I understand that, but it's like you can understand something in your mind and that's one thing, like you can know the facts, and then it's another thing to have a natural sense of something where you don't need to think about it and measure it all out. You just naturally do something, and I never got a good sense of healthiness when it came to food. Like I never like I do have to think about it. I have to go like, is this unhealthy? And I also don't know what's unhealthy sometimes. Like I didn't know until like 2 weeks ago that deli meat was unhealthy. I knew like salami was because I'm like, okay, that's a bunch of meats mixed together and that's processed. But I didn't know that ham and turkey were also processed. I just imagine, they slice a thin part off of like a big chunk of turkey or ham and then you eat it, and then that's as healthy as eating turkey or pork. But I didn't know that it was processed because it's deli meat. And I'll be surprised sometimes when I learn that something's unhealthy. I mean, I remember like I don't know how you pronounce like General Tso's chicken, the Chinese food. I thought that was like a healthy alternative. So I'm like, it's just chicken and you have veggies and rice. And then I looked it up and it's like it's one of the most unhealthy meals you can eat because of the fucking sauce and the batter they use. And so not only did I not learn though things that were healthy and unhealthy, but I just never got a sense of it. So when I'm just if I don't measure everything out and I'm just following my appetite, I don't naturally gravitate toward some sort of equilibrium of mostly healthy foods, and then every once in a while you cheat. It's like it all feels like the same to me. And I just need, hopefully over this year I can develop better habits and I can develop a better sense of that. Um, but yeah, it's hard though. It's I'm not enjoying the diet at all. Yesterday when I got my pizza, I felt so fucking good. And I was just like, why can't I just live like this? I woke up today, I didn't have to work. I'm still in bed. It's been like 3 hours. Um, no, it's actually been over 3 hours. But I woke up and I just started playing Skyrim and I was like, this is the life. Like, is there anything better than just waking up, laying in bed for like an hour and a half, just being on your phone, then staying in bed and playing a game? I was like, I so wish I just had some nice like leftovers right now, like some leftover wings or something, or I wish I could like make some fucking French toast and just douse it in syrup. And I can't do that though. I'm gonna wait all day because I had pizza yesterday, and then I'm gonna make fucking lentil soup and a small chicken wrap, and that's it. And I'm gonna go back to feeling like shit tomorrow. And it sucks, but it's what I have to fucking do. And I don't know if I'll try to stay skinny, but I might just try. Like I don't know. I have to figure out how to like be satisfied. Part of that is though reducing my appetite. My appetite can't be slop all the time. But I have to find something where I can like eat mostly healthy, but then I don't like hate myself for doing it. I don't feel like I'm punishing myself, and I can enjoy food. But that, like I said, that's just developing the healthier habits and the better sense of that. But anyway, I probably ranted about my fucking diet for long enough, so that's about it for this one.